This is episode 37 of Noodle Time. Welcome back. Here with me is the number one fan of Diana Ordóñez, Eric OSG. How's it going, man?
Hey man, well, hey guys, thanks for tuning in to today's show. We just watched Dynamo lost last night. Dash had our backs. Thanks for tuning in. That's the show.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I am currently saving my thoughts for the Dynamo 2 game that you just watched towards the end, since, like we said last week, since all the teams are kicking off now, essentially we're going to review all the games. Essentially, they're going to be in chronological order. And because the Dash played first, they're gonna get the review first, and we'll go to Dynamo second because they played second, and then Dynamo 2 since they were the last team to play this week. And there's definitely a lot to talk about for the Dynamo and Dynamo 2 games because those were not pretty games at all, and we just leave it at that and save it towards the end. But there's thankfully a lot to talk about for the Dash positively because thankfully they're the only team that has our backs this weekend, and it showed on the field, especially considering that they're the team that scored all the goals in that game, which is pretty interesting. So, without the way, let's get into the episode. And essentially, like I said, we'll start with the Dash. This is their first road game of the season, coming out of the scoreless draw against Racing Louisville back in Houston this past week, and it looks like the Road Warriors are back because they showed up to the Chicago Red Stars in the first half. They show like a couple struggles now and then. Obviously, they scored the first goal, and then they will concede that a second goal of the own goal out of, I believe it was, Natalie Jacobs. And the second half they just took like a way different team, and they could have scored way more goals than what they used to. And defensively, they also stepped up. And it's pretty much kind of like how the Dash have been doing on the road this past year. The team that just gets results on the field, like away from home, and yeah, it was just great to see. Honestly, that the Dash is coming out of a pretty tough game mentally against Racing Louisville, where you're expected to get points, and they just go out at Chicago and get all the 3 points, which is amazing, honestly.
Well, when you're playing Chicago too, you have Mallory Pugh, who is now Mallory Swanson. She's just so scary, and she's probably
Yeah,
one of the top three players in the friggin' league. And she belongs on a different team because Chicago don't have her back that much. But man, I mean, hey, the way the Dash played was pretty exciting. It took them 4 minutes to score. Great through ball from Adornius to Salmon. Salmon played. Sanchez across the middle, and Sanchez kind of had to almost hit it too wrong, but it popped into the goal and gave us that net. It was a great start, and we needed that great start because obviously coming off the 0-0 tie at home last weekend, it was just needed something different. The win was a factor in that game. But at least the girls, they performed well for the most part. The second half was kind of a little sketchy to start off there for a little bit, and then they just defended. Nothing was getting through, as you could see from some of those rejections from Natalie Jacobs and right there on the goal line, saving Jane Campbell's butt because there was nothing Campbell could do about some of those. So man, it was exciting, and it was just good to see the girls get out there and get a win. And Sanchez and Adorniez, the first duo Mexican nationals to score an NWSL in the same game. So
yeah.
something special about that.
No, yeah, that's pretty good. And I guess I can start with one of the negatives from this game, particularly in the first half, just being what you just mentioned about Chicago's Mallory Swanson. Essentially, she was running her own flank. Essentially, her left side, or at least Caprice Dasco's side, was essentially she just took it over, and Didasco didn't show up in the first half at all. And essentially, most of the plays, just watching the game, you could clearly see them just building up plays from that side, and yeah, it was just a mess in the first half. Thankfully, that was somewhat addressed in the second half. Essentially, defensively, not just Didasco, but like defensively as a whole, they just frustrated Chicago very well in most instances, and they got the job done eventually. And just shout out to Didasco though, because she stepped up, and especially following that tough first half, and obviously containing Mallory Swanson, it's definitely not no easy task, but she got it done in the second half.
Dude, she was so out of position in the first half. Like you know who you're playing against, right? And I know Sam Lady knows who you're playing against, and you know the ball would be on the opposite side of the field, and she would be scooting over towards the middle to support who was it, Priceock and Jacobs over there in the middle, but she's forgetting about Mallory Swanson. You cannot forget about her. They switched the ball, get the ball to her quick, and she would just drive down and then make a move and get a shot on goal or get a deflection out for a corner. It was terrible. But obviously, there were some pointers made at halftime. She made her adjustments. She came out. She played a lot better in the second half. And Mallory Swanson wasn't such a threat. So that could have been dangerous in the first half. You got to make those adjustments quick, know your opponent, and be ready for it, girl. Come on, Didesco. You're a former MVPs. That's you definitely didn't look like it in the first half, but you came out and proved yourself in the second half. So thank God you put your head on and you saved the day right there and just put a stop to that.
Oh yeah, and honestly, shout out to Natalie Jacobs because obviously that on goal was pretty terrible, especially coming out like literally following up Houston's goal that happens, and it's just unfortunate. Honestly, that wasn't meant to happen, and it was just an accident. And she
You
came out in the
know,
second half, and she stepped up, and I really appreciate that. Honestly, like she just essentially moved away from that immediately, and just kept working towards that result. And she definitely was part of that. So shout out to her.
you're right because that's a great point. Because whenever someone gives up an own goal, they just start beating themselves up, and they can just be mentally brought down. And she didn't let it affect her. And of course she has her teammates. That's the great thing about the dash. They're going to be there for their teammates no matter what's going on in the game. And they just held her head up for her. She held her head up. She got back into it. Then of course she makes a couple saves in the second half. She made some good saves and props to her for keeping her head on and getting back into it, just sticking to the game because she didn't lose the game. She just made an error. Everybody knows don't stick your foot out and stab at something in the box. It's going to deflect, and but she's just trying to make a play. So I mean, it happens. But I want to ask you when we did our preseason prediction lineups, who had Jacobs in the starting lineup, and who didn't? No, I'm just kidding.
That's true.
In your defense, it was for left back too. At the same time, we didn't
Yeah.
expect Annika Creel to still be hurt, and she has been hurt for 2 games. Jacob's been stepping up in the middle, and Chappie and Peterson the following week had to pick up the slack on the left side. So good deal. And like I said, I like Jacobs. She's a good player. She just had one little mistake, but made up for it the rest of the game.
Oh yeah, and just moving on to the positives. I mean, what can we say about like Ebony Salmon, Diana Ordonez, and Maria Sanchez? Like it's all coming together, and just looking at this game, it's just like they're just building out plays and just having fun out there because they could have a lot of goals in this game. I feel like, and it was just unfortunate that it didn't go that way. But at the same time, they were just having fun on the field, and I particularly love how Diana Ordonez's awareness, just knowing where all her forwards are, just to like slot the ball correctly, and just being in that right situation to force a scoring opportunity. I really like that, and this might just be like Diana Ordonez's year, like pretty early in the season though, but she's gonna be pretty threatening for a lot of people.
I mean, coming off Rookie of the Year, and man, she is so technically gifted. It's hard for a lot of players. Those balls that are coming at you, just control it so well at your friggin' feet. Because a lot of players they take a touch and then they're chasing it back down to make their turn. But she controls it at her feet, and your next move is instant. And she's looking for those forwards. She's looking for Salmon. She's looking for Sanchez. She's looking for her mids and. That's just something special that you get out of a striker that some other teams don't have. Right now, Dynamo and Dynamo don't have a striker up top to control the ball. But I love Ordonez, and then you mentioned a couple of times we should have had big chances missed. Salmon, one too many touches. The goal was
Yep.
open, and she took an extra touch. And then in the second half, I don't even remember who the second half was because Salmon stood out so well. Just shoot. Oh yeah, well it was Ordonez that should have shot, and she ended up getting taking the penalty, so it worked out in our favor. But man, just shoot the freaking ball sometimes. Score when you got the
Yeah.
opportunity. Quit being selfish. I mean, quit being trying to help your teammates and pass the ball. I don't know what Salmon was thinking though at that one point because it was just clear as day she should have shot. But whatever, it worked out in the end. It didn't end up hurting us.
No, yeah, and I mean also shout out to the first goal that was scored within 4 minutes because that thing was amazing. Like Diana Ordonez just running through the middle and finds Ebony Salmon on the flank that crosses his back to Maria Sanchez to essentially chip. Well, it wasn't like a. It kind of looked like it was kind of like a chip because like she finished the ball and it went like it literally hovered the keeper completely to score the goal, and that was a great team goal, honestly, and just the speed of that as well, just being aware of where the ball is and just being ready to receive the ball and do what you have to do. They got it done in the first goal, and the second goal, obviously Diana Ordonez burying the penalty kick, and yeah, and just throughout the game, just being a threat altogether. I'm liking what I'm seeing, honestly.
And that penalty was perfect. The keeper guessed the right way, but there was just too much power right into the corner. There wasn't no stopping it. It's a great penalty kick. Obviously, we know who our penalty kicker is for the Dash this season. Let's just keep it going. And then the Sanchez to get the start finally. She should have got the start anyways. We got to find out what we can do with Ryan Gary's, but Salmon comes in and does exactly what she's supposed to do. She puts those crosses into the box. She puts those crosses into the box. She puts those crosses into the box.
Yeah,
And Ordonez was there a couple times, but it looked great. It
yeah,
looked great.
and Ryan Garrett, she did have like a pretty decent game against Wrestling Louisville. She did make an appearance in this game, entering as a sub for Ebony Salmon at the 62nd minute. And Ivana Solon, one of the new signings for the Dash, also made an appearance this time around. She did replace Joel Anderson at the 72nd minute, and Cameron Tucker also subbed in towards the 84th minute for Maria Sanchez, and yeah, they didn't look bad at all. And just coming out of the second half, they look well more organized, well more balanced. They didn't have like they didn't allow like a lot of spaces like they did in the first half, particularly in our defensive right side. That was like a big deal, and they just held it together, and they just looked like a comfortable win for them. Which shout out to the Dash for not stressing out, not playing dumb balls, and not giving it away, just in spite of things, and yeah, not stressing altogether really. So shout out to them.
One little thing I will bring up, for an 8, I would like Joel Anderson to be more attacking, make better decisions. We're missing Shea Groom right now, obviously from the injury. Can't wait to get her back because you know what you get when you get her on the field. But like Joel Anderson right now is the kind of being the average player that we're expecting more out of, especially since she's the next key to getting the ball to those forwards over there. So can't rely on Vigiano and Schmidt the entire time. She's going to have to step it up, or Salone's going to have to start getting that start, or Groom, just hurry up and come back, girl.
Oh, yeah, I'm extra sad though because Barbara Olivieri is also injured, so we're kind
Yeah,
of like sad campers today. But
yeah.
yeah, we'll miss them for sure until they show up on the field. But yeah, they will get back eventually, and they'll compete for that spot. So it's gonna be good.
I'm gonna be interested what they're gonna do with her, anyways, when she does come back, and or she's able, ready to play, and what they're gonna use her as. But it's all right. Let's just keep attacking like we're doing, and let's just find the back of the net a little more often than we're doing right now. And I think the Dash will be fine, and we'll go back to saying it. They're going to be contenders this year in the NWSL, and they keep taking notes. Yeah, they're coming up. They're DTFO.
Yep. And yeah, that was the Dash game, getting the first 3 points of the season on the road against the Chicago Red Stars. This upcoming week, they do have a bye week. Essentially, they won't be playing any games and they do need that break and that time to sit back because they do have that friendly against Mexico coming up in the middle of the week and a big game at the Portland Thorns. Probably the best team in the league right now. Coming out of scoring a bunch of goals, which we can definitely get into next week just to talk more. in depth.
Yeah, luckily it's an international break for the entire NWSL, so everybody's off this coming weekend. And then some teams are playing. I think the Red Stars are playing. Chicago's also playing the Mexican national team, so you'll probably see Maria Sanchez and Diana Ordonez playing in two international friendlies, especially the one in Houston against our Houston Dash. No, they will not be putting on the orange on that Tuesday or Wednesday night. I think it's a Tuesday night. So, guys, be careful who you're rooting for, but do not expect too much from the Dash during that game, anyways. As far as the starting 11 players playing, they might play, but they probably won't play, and it'll just be reserve time, and especially like you said, 4 days prior to playing the best team in the league and the defending champions in the league. So, take the break, enjoy the break. Who cares what happens against Mexico? Just go root for Sanchez and Ordonez.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna sit out the starters ahead of the Portland game, and I won't blame them for that. So
No.
I definitely just hope that the reserves get a lot of playing time, and the starters just sit this one out and take a break and just keep training for that big game in Portland. But we can definitely get
At
into
the
it. Yeah, what was that?
at the same time, we do have a ton of injuries right now, so somebody's
Yeah,
gonna have to play in that game. So just they're gonna take it easy and they're not gonna go hard, which you don't want them to go hard anyways. And Mexico's women's team isn't that great to begin with, so let's just go out there and just have fun and don't worry about it.
no, yeah. And before I move on out of the NWSL, would you like to go ahead and give us the NWSL recap?
Yeah, man. Speaking of Portland, dude, they've already scored 8 goals in 2 games this season, and they went to Kansas City and whooped their butt 4-1. So they were at a 4-0 and a 4-1 to start the friggin' season. So it looks like the Queens of Unstoppable is going to reign this league this year. And who's got them next? We do in 2 weeks. So uh, we need to get some players back off that injury list because we're going to need to take everything we got to
Yep.
Portland. To Portland, man. That's just going to be crazy that we are in. That'll be a 9:30 game on the 14th when
West
we do come
Coast.
back. Yeah, West Coast.
Yep,
So
yep,
like our San Jose game, but whatever. That's a
yep.
Friday night game, by the way. Friday night game.
Not bad. Okay.
All right. Yeah, so moving on, of course, Houston Dash will go up to Chicago and beat Chicago. Chicago's got 2 straight losses to start the season. They went to San Diego and lost in San Diego the week before. Racing Louisville goes out and ties Washington Spirit 2-2, so they go out with another draw. So I guess you don't win, you don't lose. OL Reign went to Gotham and won 2-0. So OL Reign got their first win. Gotham got their first loss. San Diego Waves playing at home again. They won 3-1 against North Carolina Courage, so they're 2-0 to start off the season. So good for them. Whoop de doo. No, I'm just kidding. I like I like Alex Morgan. So, but not rooting for the San Diego Wave anyways. Angel City won 2-1 playing in Orlando to get their first win for the season. So, you know, technically, 4 points for the Dash is it's second place. Only to the San Diego Wave and Portland Thorns. So we're up there. I mean, I know it's only week 2, so but 4 points out of 6 points, can't go wrong with that. But that's
Yep.
your NWSL wrap up. Everybody's on a bye this coming weekend playing international duty. A lot of players are getting international duty. The Dash have 6 players that have been called up, and the Portland Thorns, just because they're our next opponent, they also have 6 players that have been called up to their team. 2 of those being Americans, or 3 of them being Americans, actually. So that tells you how tough they are right there, just by saying 3 Americans from the Portland Thorns have been called up to the national team.
Yep. And I'm gonna say I did watch a little bit of the Angel City game, and it was crazy because Angel City they scored the second goal at the 98th minute with stoppage time, and it was crazy. And so there was, if I'm an Orlando fan, I will definitely be upset about that. But I'm also a Dynamo 2 fan, which I'm also upset, which is kind of close or related at least, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, shout out
Well,
to
it's hard to give up one goal at the end of the game, but not when you give up 2 at the end of the game.
yeah. Oh well, I'm gonna save it for later because yeah. A shout out to the Dash. This is the Dash's moment, and I'm gonna respect that. So they deserve it. World Warriors are back, baby. Let's go.
DTFO.
Yes, sir.
DTFO.
Yep.
Those are girls right there. Dash on.
Yep. And okay, fun part's over. Let's talk. Let's talk
Show's
about.
show show's over. Show's over. Show's over.
Let's talk about the Dynamo because man, I was pretty upset last night, and we can go different ways of this, but essentially, what I'm gonna say is that that was a very poor game altogether. Like, there's definitely a lot to say about the defense. There's a lot to say about the offense, and oh man, I'm trying to sum up my words because like
Well, here,
everything went poorly. You can start, yeah.
yeah. Let's just start it like this. Let's just get straight into it. Corey Barrow started again over Sebas. Okay, again, which we kind of expected. We knew that was going to happen. But you know, all right, let's just look at the game and the way the team played. We suck in the final third. Our wingers and our striker doesn't exist, and I'm going to go back to my little history. I'm only coached youth soccer before, but when my final team, my girls, when we won state, we were playing in a 4-3-3, and I thought that those girls were very attack minded, and we played the game on the opponent's half of the field the entire frigging game. My strikers went forward, not backwards. Now, credit to Corey Barrett. He didn't have a bad game. He did what we expected him to do. He ran around. He defended. He took his touches, but he went backwards every single time. He did not go out wide. He did not turn and attack the goal. Yes, he did have one good opportunity that he ended up missing, or he kicked it straight to the keeper or whatever. But I need my forward to go forward. So I don't know what your thoughts is on Baird, but you know, I don't think Sebastian Fadea could have done anything too much different. But we need Ben Olsen needs to figure out how to get those final three players involved into the attack. And I don't know, man. We don't need to be a defensive team. We don't need to play like a defensive team. We need to play ball forward. Get the ball forward and take our opportunities, our chances, because right now we're creating none.
Essentially, yeah, and just starting with the offensive line, or at least the forwards of the midfields, and just to start with the Corey Bear situation, I feel like it comes down to work ethic. That's like the probably the only thing I'm thinking that is keeping Sebas from starting. Like that we've definitely seen Corey Bear just moving down to defend for sure. I don't know if that's like a thing that Sebas is still working on, or something that Ben Olsen doesn't like from Sebas starting. But
But when
yeah,
Sebas came in those final 20 minutes, did you watch Sebas? Did
I
you
did.
watch what he
Yeah,
did? He actually did look like he was running around and trying. Now he's not quick as Baird. He's smaller, so his feet can't run very fast. But he it looked like he was trying to play Benny ball is what we're going to freaking call it. So I
yeah,
mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. This
yeah,
is very
and
very frustrating.
it is. And I was actually gonna get to that because Sebas, like we saw, he was subbed in around the 73rd minute, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
76. Sorry, and yeah, essentially that's also what I saw. Like it looked like Sebas was actually running around, but like the main issue, like you already mentioned, is the fact that we are getting the ball together. We're essentially just choking in the final third. Essentially, we like unless we see like an open player like on the box, we don't know what to do with the ball. Like if we're, for example, outside the box, we just look like we're afraid to shoot the ball or just do something because I feel like we're just distributing the ball through passing like inside the box to find the next open man, and like in some instances that's okay just to try to like find an open player, but at the same time if you're doing that all the time, there's definitely something wrong because they just have to like those opportunities inside the box are not always they're not always going to show up for you, and you just have to like take those opportunities outside the box and just take those chances because that's how the sport is all about. Like you can definitely get open inside the box, but sometimes it's not gonna work like that. And that was like my main issue with like the forwards because they like and the midfields too because they definitely have bring the ball forward. They look pretty threatening, but they just choke in the final third or whenever they get close to the box, which is pretty upsetting, honestly.
And let's do point out that the team as a whole did not look as in tune with each other as they did the previous 2 weeks in Houston, and that could be something to do with the road. San Jose was pressing pretty well and playing pretty well, but we weren't quite in tune as we've been in the past couple of weeks. So that did make a difference, and we weren't taking opportunities. Like you said, we only had 6 shots. 3 of those were on goal the entire game. And one of those is a frigging penalty. As a matter of fact, all the goals were penalties. So nobody scored from open play. So that's the only thing we could take out of this game is they didn't score on us.
Yeah, and a couple other bad things I can say. Obviously, a lot of bad things here. Not a lot of positives, but just moving into the midfields, like I felt like Coco had a pretty bad first half, and he was just wasting opportunities, like just losing the ball constantly. And thankfully, it looked like he balanced things out in the second half. But I feel like in the first half, like things went pretty poor for the Dynamo, and they were like throughout the game, really, like they were just dodging a lot of bullets from San Jose. They had like a lot of opportunities they missed, and we didn't look like we were threatening offensively, which definitely sucks because like the midfield you could have definitely seen, especially in the second half, that they were just working together to move the ball forward. But it just goes back to what I said about the forward line and just like missing, just choking in the final third, really, which is it is definitely upsetting, and it just sucks altogether.
Since we're talking about the attack still right now, Brooklyn Reigns got to start again, and I thought he got started out of position this game. But I was going to say that's fine. Let's see how it goes. But it did not go in his favor for that game. I don't think he didn't stand out. He played okay, but he didn't play too terrible. But again, it didn't help us out in the attack. But he was trying to play that wing like a winger, but it didn't look like he belonged over there. He needs to be in the central of the midfield, and I don't know if that's Ben Olsen's going to have to do a formation change or find something different. I don't think he's utilizing our players to the best that he can right now, and that's something that he has to figure out. And he's got to start to figure it out pretty quick, as we are 5 games in. So I mean, it's 29 to go, so still a lot of season left. But we're still above the playoff line. Thankfully, well, we're 8, but still considered above the playoff line, I would guess. But he's going to have to figure something out. We still got this tough schedule coming up at home against LA Galaxy, at New York Red Bulls, home against Miami, on the road against LAFC. That's 4 hard games, man, and so you can't play around and write on the chalkboard. He's going to have to put something down in ink and figure it out real quick.
Another thing I could definitely say for sure is defensively we also look pretty poor. Like there were a lot of those individual defensive mistakes that we've been seeing, especially in the game against New England. That was a game that, like, altogether defensively, it was just extremely poor. And in this game, it just looked like we were like thinking of something else in the sense of like the players were not in it, and it just going back to San Jose's first goal, like that penalty kick of a teenager's hand, that was definitely something that could have been easily avoided, and the second penalty kick for San Jose as well, like it definitely, like, it was that situation where Barlow had to do something, and unfortunately he essentially caught his leg in Kid Cowell's leg, I believe it was, that he
Yeah.
challenged. But yeah, that's still in the rule book. That's a penalty, and you can just really be in those situations. So it's unfortunate.
In the rule book, that's a penalty. Then why did we not get that and in the second half as well? Because the exact same thing happened for us. VAR looked
Yeah,
at it, but did not ask the referee to look at it more. So that's some BS. Yes,
yeah,
Adabi had a big brain fart, and you're in the box, and you know the ball's going to be crossed because it's going out of bounds. He has nothing else to do. Put your hands behind your freaking back, bro.
yeah.
God.
I was gonna get into the refereeing towards the end of our Dynamo review because I
Well,
really
too
don't
bad
like.
it had happened.
No, yeah, yeah. Essentially, no, yeah. Essentially, just because I don't really blame our results on the refereeing, but in this game in
No.
particular, though, like I also think that Tori Peso, the referee for this game, had like a pretty inconsistent game in the sense that the at least the penalty kick that we got, it looked like a pretty soft call, but just going forward with the game, like there were definitely two other calls that could have been penalties if those were reviewed by VAR. So it was very inconsistent altogether. And and like I said, I'm not trying to blame our result on the refereeing. It's just what happened in that game, and that's about it. Like
No,
in the
it's
end of the
a
day, it's our fault.
yes, 100%. It's the Dynamo's fault. You never blame the referee for losing the game unless they just like make an outright mistake at the last second or whatever. But no, you don't blame the referee. The referee is the referee. You got to learn to play around the intangibles that come with the game. You got to play to your opponent, and you got to forget about the referee. The referee is just a human being. It's going to call the game the way they see it. Then we got to rely on VAR making mistakes too. But that's not that shouldn't come into play. You're right. We should be able to go out there, beat our opponent, and not let it come down to small things like that or big things like that to make a difference in a game. Play your game, win the game, and don't let other things come into play.
Oh yeah, and some closing thoughts for the Dynamo game. You mentioned it earlier, but it's gonna come down to adjustments. And Corey Bird better not start because I feel like a lot of people are gonna go for Ben Olsen's head. but but yeah, I mean, there's definitely some adjustments that have to make going to the next game at home against LA Galaxy because that's the game you have to win. And there's we can definitely talk a little bit more about LA Galaxy when we get to the MLS recap. But essentially, the adjustments have to be made, and that game against San Jose was extremely poor, and everyone on the team has to show out this time around, or at least next week.
Well, who did stand out back there? Steris stood out. And
Yeah.
then when Schmidt got hurt and Escobar came in, Steris switched to the left side. And let's give credit to Escobar too. He actually did play pretty well for coming out after being off for 3 weeks and really coming into the season hurt. Steris moving to left back now, bro. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Hey,
No, yeah, I forgot about that. So I mean, shout out to not just Franco Escobar making essentially his returning from injury, but also Daniel Steres because Steres started this game like on his right, and then essentially he had to move to the left side when Franco stepped in because Stage Schmidt got a knock at the 38th minute, and essentially he had to sub out, and Steres essentially stepped in to to cover his side of the field, and he didn't look pretty bad. So it's pretty impressive that he had to like switch to an entire side of the field, and he still played well, like for the most part. So shout out to him honestly, and Escobar.
yeah. Otherwise than that, it is what it is. Bartlow and Hadabi had average games. They still played okay. I mean, I even heard a couple times during the game, all right, we need the Danish guy to come in. So but whatever. That is what it is. Herrera had an okay game. Like you said, Coco was average. Arthur's still a stud right there. And when we just need to figure out that final third. So I mean, that's about it for the Dynamo and my thoughts on them. But I'm with you. We need to figure something has to be different when we play at home against the LA Galaxy next week because it's LA Galaxy. So we always sell tickets for the LA Galaxy. It's a 7:30 game, so it's Saturday night. So people should be able to show up and they shouldn't have any excuses. And then of course everybody wants to go see LA Galaxy anyways. So hopefully we can get 18, 19,000 fans there again and not be another 13,000 rinky dink.
Yeah, and we're at that at that. We can definitely just get into the preview for the LA Galaxy. They already play 5 games, and they're currently essentially at 0 wins and 3 points.
3 or 4
Four,
points. 4.
yeah, four.
I thought they had 4 ties. Oh no, you're right. They had 2 losses and 3 draws. Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah, and yeah, they do have like three draws, the 3 points there, and they're coming off of a loss to Seattle Sounders, and obviously that's a pretty tough game to play. But LA Galaxy, they're in a pretty tough position right now, not just like off the field, but also on the field. The team doesn't look like pretty like they're in shape right now, or at least like in form, just compared to last year. And yeah, there's just like a lot of stuff going on with them. So this is definitely a good opportunity for Houston to grab points here. And like I said before, this is a game they have to win.
They're definitely not in any form right now. In 5 games, they've scored 3 goals this season. the Galaxy have 3 goals. So they're definitely not looking good. They started off the season with a 3-1 loss to Dallas. They tied Sporting KC 0-0. They tied Vancouver 1-1. They tied Portland 0-0. So 3 straight draws back to back. And then, of course, they lost to Seattle. Now, I did watch the end of that game because I forget what I was doing, but I came back. I watched the last 15 minutes of that game, and Seattle, of course, was parking the bus, and then LA Galaxy was trying to just drive it in, and Seattle defended well. They did get one late, but they didn't get enough to come back. So they looked dangerous there at the end, but Galaxy are not looking like the Galaxy of old, and they had their troubles this season with their ownership and their fans. So is what it is. So I hope they suck it up when they come to Houston next weekend too.
No, yeah, and shout out to the LA Galaxy fans, man, because they're definitely going through their deal with Chris Klein, their club president, that has been in a lot of trouble when it comes to violating the league rules and the club just letting him be in the front office. And I just hope everything goes their way at some point because they've been protesting, they've been taking action, but it just looks like LA Galaxy are just going to suck it up and just keep Chris Klein as a president, which definitely sucks. But yeah, I wish them the best down the road.
If today was still the first, I could have told you the LA Galaxy are going to get relegated and Sacramento is going to come in and take their place.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that
but
that's
April
that,
Fools.
yeah.
No, but
But yeah, I guess from here we can just go ahead and get to the MLS recap.
yeah, man. Like we always do, I'll run through them. Stop me if you want to say something on any one of these games.
Yep.
Atlanta beat the Red Bulls 1-0 in Atlanta. Columbus went out and whooped RL Salt Lake 4-0. RL Salt Lake doesn't look good at all this year. They're already getting their butts kicked. Uh, Cincinnati with another friggin' win. They win 1-0 hosting Miami. As you mentioned, Seattle went to LA Galaxy and won 2-1. So a little bit of surprise here. New England and NYC ended up playing to a 1-1 draw. And then Toronto versus Charlotte 2-2, and there was an Olympico in that game. I don't know if you saw that replay.
I didn't see it yet, but I heard about it. I should see it.
Yeah, keeper came out and he missed, and it just went straight into the far corner. So what it was is
Dang.
what it was. Nashville went to Orlando and won. I'll let you say it
Papa
because I'm.
Pico.
All right, you said
Of
it.
course
Move
he's
on.
scoring. Yeah, of course. He gets to
Well,
score now.
that's his first goal, so let's not say he's scoring. He scored. So
Fluffy
he's
don't
yeah,
eat.
yeah. Slow feet don't eat. Well, BS. Get out of here with that. Chicago, DC United to a scoreless draw. FC Dallas, man, they woohoo! FC North Texas South Frisco 1-1 against Portland, and Portland had to score a late goal just to get that one back in, and so Dallas had to deal with that draw. And I was kind of listening to that one there or the 360 Apple 360, and they're talking about how they're having trouble getting fans to go to their games too. So they're kind of in the same boat as us right there. But
Yep.
they play in a concert stadium anyway, so it's not even a real soccer stadium. Uh, the big upset of the day, finally, St. Louis gets taken out. And
Man.
Minnesota with a 1-0 win, bro. Did you see some of that?
Yeah, of all the teams that I thought they were gonna take down St. Louis eventually, I didn't think
Yeah.
Minnesota. So shout out to Minnesota for getting the job done and just stopping that train, because St. Louis is outscoring everyone, just making it look easy, and Minnesota just go to their home field and get the 3 points. That's insane.
And it was like a goal I think the goal was in the 70th minute too. So it was one of those 78th minute. Yeah, 78th minute. So it was a late one, and they just held it down and didn't let St. Louis get there. And just a side note from the St. Louis game, that we heard some fans got kicked out of the stadium because they were standing and cheering for their team. Yes,
That's
y'all heard it right.
that's
Standing and
so
cheering.
odd. Like that's like so Karen. Like someone complained, someone in
Yeah.
that section complained, and they got their way. That sucks. Honestly, that's just cheering for your team. Like, come on.
And looking at the video, it looked like it was the seats up almost all the way on the back rows. It was like 3 or 4 rows in front of the back rows. So Darren and Karen, who only paid $15 for their seats to go to that game, didn't want to stand up and didn't want to watch the game. That's, you know what? Don't go to a sporting event. Don't go to a concert. Stay at home and watch it on Apple TV. I know
Yeah.
you go away, but police escorted those people out. I don't even know how police even were like, oh, yeah, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and get rid of them. In St. Louis, like, come on, nah. Yeah, everybody was standing that entire game too. You could see it in the previews, or not the previews, the reviews of the game. Like, so there was a Darren and a Karen sitting behind those people on, and I hope they get
Yeah.
called out on Twitter, but yeah. All right. Well, so moving on, another rival. I don't know how Sporting KC is still doing this, but they tied in Philly 0-0. So they can't score, but they're not giving up goals at the same time. So Sporting KC is going to be a little bit of a surprise at some point if they can get their stuff together.
Yeah.
So, somehow. And then speaking of somehow, Colorado LAFC 0-0 in Colorado.
Man,
Nobody expected that.
I expected at least a couple of goals here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what the heck's going on. So it looks like there's some parity in the MLS this year, at least to start off the season. And in the final game, and the team that's really in trouble is Montreal. Vancouver beat them 5-0, and that was a Canadian rivalry game right there. And I know they're mad, and I know our friends at the Ball is Round podcast for Montreal. I'm gonna have to go back and listen. They had a recorded episode today. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to them just to see how frustrated they are. But man, that's just embarrassing right there for them to get beat up. It was 3-0 at halftime right there. And, that's the scores for the week. Real quick for the Eastern Conference, it's still Cincinnati up. Well, now it's not still, but now it's Cincinnati up top over Atlanta and New England. Cincinnati has 14. Atlanta and New England both have 13 points. Looks like everybody. Dang, sorry, I take that back. Cincinnati is the only team in the East that is without a loss right now. So good for them. They're still undefeated. They got some ties. In the West, it's St. Louis with 15, Seattle with 13, LAFC with 11, and Minnesota with 11 and fourth. We're sitting in eighth, technically right below that playoff line, but we're in the play-in game, and it looks like LAFC and Minnesota are the only teams in the West that still have not taken an L. That is your MLS recap.
Yep, and it's definitely a league full of parity and a lot of interesting results because we've seen it this week, and especially with the scoreless draws and the the thumpings of Vancouver and Columbus, and every week in and out essentially. So it's just fun
Yeah.
to watch, honestly. So that's and definitely it keeps us guessing as to what's going to happen next, particularly with the Dynamo. And speaking of Dynamo 2,
Yeah, they're yeah.
we
Which
we
one?
like
Which one do you want to talk about? They're both horrible right now.
so Eric pretty much just mentioned that we literally just came out of watching the Dynamo 2 game on Sunday today, and they kind of like last week they scored the first goal and then they could see two, and I'm pretty upset about that because in the first half they looked pretty strong. They looked like they're gonna score a lot of goals. They're, shout out to their keeper though because their keeper did a pretty good job. Like the Dynamo 2, they had like a lot of opportunities to score, but the keeper just kept the scoreless towards halftime. And Houston will come in to score the first goal through Talon Maples. Shout out to Talon Maples, and they would essentially just shut down after that goal. Like they would just literally just let anything get past their defense. The first goal was silly, like of the corner kick sequence, I believe, and the second goal, like literally in stoppage time of the run of play, like they just fell asleep to just let the Colorado forward just run out and just like put one past Xavier Valdez, which was pretty horrible because they literally had everything to seal at 3 points, and they just completely gave up once again, kind of like last week. And it's
Deja vu.
the MLS Next Pro deja vu, and I'm like, guys, please keep it together. Like it's you only have one job. Do not fall asleep with the lead, and it was so horrible because I was like, oh my god, they tie the game. It's gonna happen again. I hope not, and they do it again, and I'm like, ugh. It was so horrible. I hated watching that game. Like it was horrible. The second half. That's upsetting. Like it's they have like some extremely good players, and this time around, like if I remember the starting lineup correctly, we did see a Jameson Van der Kuss starting again, and I thought this was odd because like in the Apple TV graphic, they had like it was out of all the players were in like different positions. Like Castilla was winger, Van der Kuss was a 10. Like Isaiah Ree was center back. Like it was horrible. I was like, what's this? And we watched the game, and it's pretty much somewhat the same lineup as the one against Austin FC2, and aside from a couple changes, but yeah, essentially they had like a pretty strong first half. But like I said before, like they just completely shut down in the second half. I don't know what you have to say, Eric. I feel like you're pretty upset.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I already lost my thought on what I was. Oh yeah, the MLS, their lineup. Like, come on, what are y'all even doing? Do y'all research? Do y'all do anything? I mean, at least the announcer knew the players' names when they had the ball in the freaking field. But come on, correct the friggin'. Maybe he doesn't. He has to see it. He has to see it. Correct it when it's on the friggin' screen. That was just the worst. Hey, it's like a dartboard, just stick board, and you just threw their names up there, and that's where they're playing. Thank God we had the. I mean, we know our team, so we know where they're playing, and then of course we saw the Dynamo too. The Dynamo does post the lineups prior to, so we knew what it was supposed to really look like. But yeah, that was embarrassing for Apple to even throw that out there like that. And geez, come on, Apple, do a better friggin' job. Hey, you know what? Do more research. We did not play at Aviva Stadium today. We did not play at Aviva Stadium today. That was friggin'. I heard that name like 6 times now. Granted, they don't know it, they don't know us, but they walked into Sabercat Stadium. It even there's a sign outside that even says it, man. So uh, you said we lost today, so we never lost in Aviva Stadium, and we've never won in Sabercat Stadium.
We
So
haven't lost out of Viva Stadium. Yes, that's correct.
yeah, yeah. But as far as the lineup goes, and Vander Koos, because he's potentially a first team player, he played a lot better today. Um, but
Yep.
there's still those opportunities that he's playing too far up out of position to when the opponent wins the ball and counters us. He's got a long run to make ahead to get back into position. Coming into the MLS with the first team and you're doing that, you're going to get beat and you're going to get our butts tore up because those wingers that dribble 40 yards unmarked and then get down to the box, they're going to find their target and they're going to put the target back, and then that target's going to put the ball in the back of the net. So Vanderkuss is going to have to make some adjustments whenever he does try to get that call up. He needs to make them now so he can show he knows how to play some. He plays defense. He's got speed to make it up. He plays defense well when he is manning, but that out of position can be very, very, very hurtful at times. Beto Avila, I don't know why Beto Avila didn't play technically. I know he got his red card last weekend, but according to MLS Next Pro rules, your red card, you sit out the game, you sit out the next game against that opponent that you received the red card against. So I don't know why he wasn't on the roster, or if you're allowed to sit out whatever the next game or the opponent if you get to choose. I thought it was just you sit out against that next opponent, but whatever. He wasn't there. It's not like he's been anything special anyways, but let's go back to the Corey Barrett effect. Evans, who played striker for us today, was a shadow on the field. He didn't
Yeah.
do nothing. Did not do nothing. Didn't create nothing. Didn't go forward with nothing. We had the same problem. We're playing with 10 men again, and 11 men defensively, but 10 men attacking. So it's just it was a difficult game, like you mentioned. The first half, we had 10 shots before halftime. Their keeper saved their butt. Their keeper literally saved their butt because he made some excellent saves, some highlight reel saves. I think it was 3 great saves, maybe 4 great saves on some of those shots that were on target. But Dose, you can't put that many shots on target and not score and not put that game away to where you can make those mistakes in the second half and let Colorado come back and beat you like that. Oh, so it's like super deja vu. We went to the game in Austin, and then here we are watching it on TV here. It just felt the same. It just took Colorado longer than Austin did to take over the game. And I tell it two different hats again. So friggin' annoying. So friggin' annoying. It seems like Bundy got out coached again in the second half, and we are pro Bundy on this pod at least. So I mean, a lot of people are pro Bundy. I just don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's contagious on the men's side of soccer in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, one of them this time around, like on like the first game, Jethan Juarez did start like as a fullback, and he did pretty well. I felt like, so shout out to him, and also Diego Gonzalez starting again for like just coming out of the Austin FC game, and I felt like he also did a pretty good job, especially in the first half, just finding out the midfields, the forwards, kind of like how Diana Ordonez did for the Dash game. Like he was just finding out the right players, and just shout out to his awareness. And other than that, you already mentioned Van der Kust. Not a lot to say there as well. Like he was pretty good altogether, and yeah, like it was just those players that caught my attention because Castilla did start for the first time this season, but I didn't see um, much of him like to, that stands out really from this game.
Yeah, he was just controlling in the midfield. None of his passes led to anything really too dangerous, unless it was like a pass before the pass before the pass. Let's just give shout out to Papa and Doy, who's still being creative on the wing out there and giving some of those opportunities, getting us down to the box and being open. Isaiah Reed started at left wing this time and did well because I think he started in the back against Austin, but now he starts up top. So, good for him playing well. We had the attack, but again, we were missing our striker who did nothing. The headers were from other players, from like our midfielders or from our wingers. It's just the opportunities. So, man, the striker is a big problem for Donados and for Dynamo right now. But as far as that, otherwise, I mean, the defense did play well until, like you said, they fell asleep there in the end of the last 15 minutes of the game, and that was just embarrassing because the announcer was even calling it, and then it friggin' happened, and then the one in the extra time trying to go to PKs, nope, didn't happen. Just embarrassing to watch. And I know they're not feeling well. They're probably lucky that they're probably at home already, and I would have grounded them. They're running laps tomorrow. You don't get the day off.
Honestly, yeah, I just run laps. I'll do the same. But yeah, the Dynamo 2, they will lose this game 2-1. It I felt more angry about this game compared to the Dynamo game. I don't know why. Like it's I should have been equally upset for both games because those were like just terrible games to just see like opportunities wasted and like lack of offense really, or like just taking care of like scoring opportunities really, and just defensive mistakes altogether. Like I should be equally as upset with each other, but for some reason I'm just like upset with Dynamo 2 like more, and it just sucks, especially just coming into the first game of the season and just bottling it really. But yeah, that was that game, the second game of the season for Dynamo 2. 0 points so far, and their next game they are, I believe they're hosting or they're
Nope.
visiting.
Friday at St. Louis.
They're visiting. Okay, yeah, they're
Yep.
visiting St. Louis too. They are coming out of a home loss to Minnesota United 2, 3-1. And St. Louis too, they were essentially they ended on the top of the standings last year for the Western Conference, and that's essentially why we got the third place for Dynamo 2. That is, and I don't see them as strong as this year, mostly just because obviously St. Louis didn't have the first team yet, and some of most of the players that were going to be in the first team were playing there. So we'll just have to see because at this point, like Dynamo 2 still has things to prove, especially after this past two games.
Yeah, man. It'll be interesting. We're gonna have to go to St. Louis and change what we're doing and just get a freaking dub because we can't start the season off 0-3. And St. Louis is not necessarily a new team, but like you said, their players went to the first team, so there's a lot of players moving up for St. Louis too. So we got to go in there and get their. Obviously they're not they're beatable at home, like you said. Minnesota beating them 3-1 today, but uh, uh, just got to put those balls in the back of the net and put the game away early, so that when teams are trying to fight back, it's going to be a little harder to fight back. Today was just the tale of those two stories, man. But you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Yep. And with that, if you want to get to the MLS Next Pro recap, I feel like
Yeah,
there's some results there.
yeah. So I don't do. I'm not going to go through the whole next pro because there's 27 friggin' teams. But so I'll just
Yep.
go through our rivals, which is SKC, Austin, and North Texas. North Texas played a little bit of a late game, but they played at LA Galaxy 2, and they won 1-0. So they got themselves a win. And then Austin traveled to SKC, played to a 1-1 draw, and had to go to penalty kicks. And SKC won that one 4-2. So good for SKC for getting the win, because I prefer Austin lose. But I guess since you can't draw, someone has to win, right? Someone has to win. Someone has to lose. So I'll take how that goes. But so we'll just move forward and we'll just play the race. It's a long season, and luckily we were only 2 games in. But that's your next pro recap. And like you said, Dynamo goes to St. Louis on the 7th, which is Friday at 7 o'clock. Dash have the bye, getting ready for international play, and Dynamo play at 7:30 at home on Saturday against the LA Galaxy. Get your tickets now. Don't wait to the last second. It's going to be hard to get. The prices are going to go up, so don't BS and say, oh, 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 oh. Get your butt to the friggin' stadium and root for your team, win, lose, or draw.
Yep. Win, lose, or draw, but you know what? Dash got my back right now, so I respect them. I respect the Houston Dash because
Yeah.
they're my team right now. So shout out to the ladies because they're getting the job done, especially coming out of a tough scoreless draw, getting the 3 points on the road. Road Warriors are back, so watch out because they're coming for you.
Hey, and just real quick, we're probably going to do a giveaway or two this season for tickets to Dynamo games, maybe even Dash games, just to get more people. Probably Dash and maybe even some Dose games, just to try to get people out there that haven't been out there. But it's basically you're just going to need to follow our accounts, and then you're going to know the keyword from the show. And if you're listening to the show, there's a keyword that Andreas likes to say and like to use. Probably about, I counted like 67 times he used the word tonight. If you know the keyword, you're going to get put in the raffle. Do you know the keyword, Foxtrot? You have to know it, or do you just say it blindly?
Hey, man, I'm not gonna say it right now.
Essentially, that's it. That's what you were going to say.
Yeah, I'll let them figure it out.
But yeah, otherwise, bro, that's it looks like that's the Hustle Town Roundup.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. There's definitely a lot of work to be done, except for Dash because they're perfect. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this episode. But yeah, stay noodle, y'all.
H is up.